Rain poured mercilessly over the city, as though the sky wanted to erase every trace of hope from its streets. Neon signs reflected in oily puddles, turning sidewalks into broken mosaics of color. On the corner, a small café glowed faintly, a pocket of warmth against the storm. Inside, the air was heavy with the mingling scents of espresso, wet coats, and sugar. Windows fogged from the breath of strangers offered only distorted glimpses of the world outside. The door creaked open. A man stepped in, dripping water from his hair and jacket. His clothes weren't filthy. He wasn't exactly homeless, but there was something fragile in his appearance. His shoes were worn down, his jacket frayed, his face shadowed by fatigue. He walked with a stiffness that betrayed both pride and shame. Some patrons turned their heads, glancing, whispering, before returning to their pastries and glowing screens. The man ignored them. He made his way to a small table by the window. The rain hammered against the glass, muffling the sound of his sigh as he sat down. The waitress, a woman in her late 20s with tired eyes and strands of hair escaping her ponytail, approached him with her notepad. Her name tag read, Elena. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile worn by people who had smiled for too many strangers. "What can I get you?" she asked gently. The man's voice was low, almost hesitant. "Just coffee." When Elena returned, he was already counting coins on the table. Quarters, nickels, dimes. His rough fingers pushed them slowly, as though each coin were heavier than it should be. He paused, frowned, then pushed them forward in shame. I'm short. Just a few cents." Elena glanced quickly at the pile. 2 cents. That was all. She felt the weight of her manager's stare from behind the counter. She bent closer and whispered, "It's fine. Don't worry. I'll bring you a coffee." His head dropped, relief visible in his shoulders. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice cracked as though gratitude hurt. But kindness had ears. The manager, Mr. Simmons, a man in his 40s with hair slicked back and a face trained into disapproval, intercepted Elena. His voice was sharp. "What are you doing?" "It's just coffee," she said quietly. "You know the rules. People like that scare off paying customers. Next time, throw him out." Her jaw tightened. "It's raining," she murmured. "That's not our concern. Our concern is profit. Do your job." She said nothing, walking away with the coffee in hand. The man accepted it silently. Then, from his pocket, he pulled a crumpled napkin. Inside lay a small cupcake, slightly crushed, frosting smeared. He placed it carefully on the table. From another pocket, he drew a bent candle and stuck it into the cupcake. With a cheap lighter, he lit it. The flame flickered, fragile, casting shadows against the window. From his coat, he pulled out an old phone, its screen cracked. He pressed a button. A boy's face appeared on the screen, freckled, about 7 years old, in pajamas. "Happy birthday, Dad," the boy shouted. The man chuckled, though his eyes shimmered. "No, buddy. It's my birthday, remember?" The boy giggled. "I know. I wanted to say it first." Elena, carrying the tray, froze when she heard. She glanced at the cupcake, the candle, the man's trembling lips as he forced a smile. Her chest tightened. "Did you make a wish, Dad?" the boy asked eagerly. The man leaned forward, smiling for the screen but breaking inside. "Yeah, I did." He blew out the candle. Smoke curled upward, mixing with the smell of bitter coffee. Elena turned away, but she couldn't breathe. This couldn't be his birthday. Sitting alone with a crushed cupcake and tears hidden behind a smile. Elena slipped her apron off, ignoring the manager's glare, and ran into the rain. She dashed down the block, shoes splashing, hair sticking to her cheeks. The bakery was closing, but she begged, breathless, and slid her last bills onto the counter. A simple cake, frosted white, decorated with cheap sugar roses, but whole, beautiful. She carried it back carefully, shielding it from the rain with her jacket. When she entered, the cafe fell silent. Mr. Simmons scowled. "What is that?" "Something that belongs here," she said firmly. She walked to the man's table, set down the cake, lit a cluster of candles, and smiled. "Happy birthday." The man froze. His eyes widened. On the phone, his son gasped. "Dad, you got a cake." "A real cake." The man's lips trembled. I don't deserve this." "Make another wish," Elena said softly. The boy bounced, clapping. Other patrons joined in, clapping softly, a few singing happy birthday. For one fragile moment, the cafe was united in kindness. The man blew out the candles. Applause filled the room. His son's cheer burst through the phone. Best birthday ever, Dad. Tears slipped down the man's cheeks. Yeah, buddy. Best one. But kindness has a cost. After closing, Mr. Simmons cornered Elena. His voice was venom. You embarrassed me. You broke rules. You're fired. She tried to explain, her voice shaking. He had nothing. It was his birthday. I don't care. Pack your things. You're done. She walked home in the rain, clutching her empty purse. She thought of her rent due, her mother's medication, her younger brother's school books. She had gambled everything on kindness. Meanwhile, the man walked alone to his motel. He whispered to his phone until the battery died, promising his son he would see him again someday. He didn't mention the court order that forbade him from approaching. He didn't mention the divorce hearings that had stripped him of custody. He didn't mention that the cupcake had been all he could afford. Elena's life was no less fragile. She had been working double shifts, saving pennies to keep her family afloat. Her father had died years ago, her mother's health declining. She dreamed of culinary school once, but dreams didn't pay rent. Now she worked where she could, serving strangers who barely saw her. The man, his name was David, once had been more than this. He had been an engineer with ideas, sketching designs late into the night. But when his marriage collapsed, so did his life. His wife took their son, the court siding with her after stories of David's instability were exaggerated by her lawyer. He sank into debt, but still clung to one thing: his project, a prototype he believed could change lives. He had come to the city to present it, his last hope. The morning after his birthday, David entered the boardroom of a tech company with his worn briefcase. Executives in tailored suits eyed him skeptically. He felt small, remembering the night before, the cupcake, the pity in strangers' eyes. But then he remembered Elena's kindness, her defiance, her cake. And he spoke with fire. His voice shook at first, then steadied. He pitched his idea, every word sharpened by desperation and love for his son. When he left, he expected nothing. But days later, the call came. They wanted it. They would buy his project, for more money than he had ever imagined. Weeks later, David returned to the cafe, not in rags this time, but in a suit. He carried a briefcase, his shoes polished. Patrons whispered. Elena, wiping tables at a temp job, froze. He smiled. Do you remember me? Her eyes widened. The cupcake. And you bought me a cake. His voice softened. You gave me back hope. He laid papers on the table. I bought this cafe. It's yours now. Build something better. Make it a place where no one is ever turned away for a few missing coins. Elena's knees went weak. Customers entered, laughter and the smell of rain following them. For the first time, the cafe was more than a business. It was a refuge. David fought for visitation rights, armed with new stability. Elena rebuilt the cafe, filling it with warmth. Patrons came not just for coffee, but for the sense that here, kindness lived. And though life remained imperfect, those scars and struggles lingered, both David and Elena had discovered that sometimes the smallest acts of compassion could alter the course of lives.